Kirk Atwood is on the line with us this morning. He is the principal at the United High School. And our conversation brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you with us here today. Our first visit after the start of school, which leads to the natural question, of course, with the mask mandate now in place once more. How has it gone for United in terms of dealing with COVID-19 and the mask mandate? Everybody in line and making sure that everybody's masking up?
Yeah, it's going well. You know, it always amazes me how adaptable kids are. You know, like you think something's going to be a big deal and a big change for them, and kids, the students are just so adaptable, and they do what they need to do, and they want to be here, and so they understand that really the greatest gift we've gotten this school year came from the CDC guidance that says when students are masked, if they're over 3 feet apart, we don't have to quarantine anymore, or we don't have to report them for quarantine anymore is a better way to say that. Mm-hmm. And so that's such a gift for us because, I mean, our quarantine numbers are so much lower than they could be under the old guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. Did that require physical changes to the building or to the way that you have the desks set up or however the rooms are arranged?
Well, we did that last year, so
yeah.
We had them set up that way for last school year, and we were over 3 feet in every classroom. Our problem was getting to that 6th level, which was the number last year to stay out of quarantine. Mm-hmm. And so this year, whenever they said, you know what, if 2 students are masked and one's positive, and they're both masked, there is no quarantine. It's just monitoring for symptoms, and so that has kept our numbers of quarantine so low. And we've really been fortunate with positive cases here. Those numbers have stayed low for us so far, too.
Yeah, I know some school districts have done this and some have not. Have you asked or measured how many students within the student body are actually vaccinated?
We have not. The only time it comes up for us, again, if we end up in a situation with a positive student, and I always like to remind families, the school doesn't quarantine. We don't have the ability to quarantine or the desire or the know-how. We're not a public health entity, but we work with the Department of Health to make those happen. And whenever we do have a situation, if the student comes down and says that they're vaccinated, then we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. All right. So let's stop talking about COVID.
Amen.
I know you'd like to make that a part of the past permanently, but
that's right.
we may have to bring the topic up again every now and again. But let's talk instead about what's going on within the United hallways for this new term this year. I know every school principal has hopes and dreams for the year and goals to define. What are some of those goals that you'd like to see happen at United this year?
You know, we're just looking to continue our, what we consider to be our tradition of academic excellence. You know, we just got our Keystone results for last school year whenever students took those tests in May, and we were a little concerned, with the COVID year and how would things go. And our numbers, we saw improvement among our student body in terms of achievement on those Keystone exams, and we're incredibly happy about that.
Yeah, well, that is great news, and I don't know that every school district has that kind of positive news. And so it obviously speaks to the fact that the kids really put their noses to it last year when it came time to, and I recognized, I guess, that there were some challenges and it would require some extra work.
Yeah, well, honestly, Todd, I credit it to 2 things. Number one was our school board making the decision early on that we were going to be in person last year as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And that worked for us. And we just had a couple instances where we had to go remote for a few days. So I think that's the greatest driving factor in those scores. And then the second is just the work that our students are willing to put in, and they understand. And with the new Act 158 requirements for graduation, they understand that these now have direct impacts on them. So it really was important for them.
Yeah. Now, have you noticed any lag or drag in student learning because of COVID-19? After a year, you can measure these things a little bit better.
Yeah, and we're starting to see some of that, examining that, and really we think what a lot of that's attributable to is, when we look at our math scores, particularly our PSSA. Now, again, with the Keystone, we saw improvement. Mm-hmm. Our PSSAs were a little more questionable for us this time. And we really think what that might be attributable to is, just families aren't real comfortable with it. I know I was a social studies and English teacher, so when my son brings home math, I kind of shy away from that,
Yeah.
And so we think that was part of, what we're seeing with those math scores, and we're hopeful that we can, get them back up to where we want them very quickly.
Yeah, because math is something that really they are more comfortable, students are more comfortable when they have that help in there with the room with them that, okay, here's my problem. I'm not understanding this. teachers right there and can walk them through the process. It's a little bit more difficult if you're doing that remotely.
Oh, no question, no question. We gave them some tools to help with that. We're using a program here called IXL, and within that there's a state skill plan, so our teachers can go in and look at the data and say, okay, we see our students are struggling with this assessment anchor, and we can go right into IXL and get them some extra help with that. So again, we're addressing those things that we saw in the data, and we're going to hopefully correct that this year and keep moving forward.
Yeah, obviously, as we get back into a school year, the social aspect of school might be different now than it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and had been for so many generations, really, that kids sometimes need to relearn some of those social skills. Do you have anything special in place, or is it just a matter of reacquainting yourself with others and incorporating all of the new procedures and protocols?
Well, we actually, as a district, we really leaned hard into something called social and emotional learning, and that's something that's going on all across the country right now, and we hopped on that. So that means all of our students, K through 12, they have a designated time every week where they're actually learning some of those social skills within the classrooms. We talked about getting to know you. We've talked about all kinds of different things. So the first week was getting to know you. Last week was all about first impressions. And so we're really pushing that through the students. And then as we continue to implement the program in the high school, it's going to build on itself. So we're going to have 4 different levels going on each year. So as the students learn those base social skills, then they're going to keep building on that. And so we're hoping that'll help. And we have heard from some of our students that ended up going cyber that they feel like, the pandemic's just made them a little less social. And so that's something we really need to help them address.
It's kind of interesting that we turn the conversation in this direction, because I think people of my generation look at the kids of today and say, oh, it's all video games and social media and all of this stuff. And really it isn't. And I think kids today are much more socially adept than kids of my generation were. The kids seem to have really embraced social skills. But when you make a special focus on social skills and building those types of things, that helps in more than just areas of getting along together with each other. It also helps you in preparation for jobs and for family life.
Oh, no question. And when we started looking at whether we were going to implement this or not, one of the things that really stuck out to me is there's research out there that shows the EQ, the emotional quotient, as opposed to the IQ, the intelligence quotient, is more predictive of world success, in academics and in the workplace. And so that really stuck with me. We focus so much on our academics, and that's our goal here. We're a school, and that's what we need to do. But that emotional EQ is so important as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So United School District going strong here. In the early portion of the school year, academics are one thing. Athletics and extracurricular, that's another thing. Those sports teams that they've been at it for a while now. And the band, the marching band, the after-school activities as well. I know that there is some disappointment at United over the fact that it's taken a while to get the Evergreen Club going. Is there any news on that, or any possibility that we could actually get that thing rolling pretty soon?
I know they're looking for funding, and that was always a grant-funded program, and we provided the space for them, and we were still happy to do that. We know that was a great benefit to our families. As soon as they can pull that funding through from wherever that is, we're happy to host them here in the district, because we know that was a great benefit. But I think they're still struggling in that end. But yeah, we're willing to help them out in any way we can as far as providing space and all that type of stuff.
We're talking with Kirk Atwood. He is the principal of the United Senior High School. As we think about, that's one aspect of helping students and supporting students in what they do. And I think that one of the things that we don't pay enough attention to is instructional aides, teacher aides that are able to take a bit of a burden off of teachers, but also be there in support of the students. And I know that United has its stable of instructional aides and other aides within the building. They're really important to a school's life, isn't it? Aren't they?
They're so incredibly important. We really like to promote the idea. Our students look at them; they have the same authority, the same respect as a regular classroom teacher, because their work is so important here. And we have such a great crew of all ladies in our building here that They're really there to support students in any way they can, and they do so much good work, and I think a lot of our student success is attributable to the work they do.
Yeah, absolutely. When we think about the people who are supportive of the school life, the life of a school doesn't really happen unless you have good aides such as that, good custodial staff, good office staff, all of those people who make the basic everyday go at United High School.
Oh, and we're so fortunate with all of those folks. I mean, our teachers came back this year, and the thing I kept hearing is we've never seen the building this clean, and that's attributable to our custodial staff. I mean, they really worked hard this summer. They did an amazing job. I know there was a day over the summer when they came in and threw me out of my office to clean it, and I said, "You guys don't have to do this. I'll clean my own." And they said, "No, get out of here. We're far ahead." They worked so hard and so fast, and our custodial staff was great. Our secretaries, everybody here, our lunch crew, it's just truly such a great community to be a part of.
Be honest, how much better did your office look after they did it than it would have after you had done it?
I don't even think there's a rating for that. It was so much better than if I'd have done it.
All right. So one of the things that I find very interesting as well is interactions with other school districts and students interacting with other districts. I recall when my son was at West Shamokin, he had some sort of academic thing where he ended up walking the hallways at United. Have those sorts of things eased back a little bit because of the pandemic, or are you still able to host other students from other schools and your students able to go there?
Yeah, we still do that to a certain extent. I know last year with our Heritage Conference academic competitions, we did try to hold some of those virtually, just, and the idea of cohorts and keeping students in the same groups and things like that. The one thing we did still do live, because I don't know how you do it virtually, was the robotics competition, which we host here at United. And so, we're hopeful that, by the spring, whenever those academic competitions roll around, we can be back in person and have our students, it is great whenever they meet each other. I remember being in high school, I didn't know anybody that wasn't in my high school. And now these students all know one another, and they're all close, and they interact daily, it's a great thing.
Yeah, I know. You would go and play a basketball game against another school, and you'd say, wow, they're actually human beings.
Right. Yeah.
They've been telling us all along they're our enemies. They're just kids just like we are. It's amazing. Yep. Kirk Atwood, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.
For having me.
Have a great day.